What's going on, everybody? We're back with the Real Bodybuilding Podcast, episode number 13. And I'm happy to announce that I have a special guest that I think all of us have a lot of questions for, Mr. Evan Centopani. So why don't you say what's up, Evan?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So thanks for doing the podcast, Evan. We haven't talked in a little while. I want to do some catching up. How's everything going? The last thing I heard was you're getting over your quad tear and you're going to make a return to the stage.
Yep.
How's that?
So, I mean, unfortunately, that's still the status. And I say unfortunately because it just has taken me so much longer than anticipated. At this point, dude, I mean, we're just over 2 years post surgery. And, when you look at somebody like Branch, who came back and not only did the Arnold, but won the Arnold like 7 months after.
Yeah. Why is it you're extremely meticulous? Like, you're known for your detail when it comes to food and trying to find out what makes you healthy and all that. So why is it taking so long? And has there been issues along the way?
Well, I think part of it's different for everybody. Like when I talked to Branch, because there's been a few times that I reached out to him during my recovery. One was like maybe 6 months ago. And dude, I was so frustrated because I'm like, man, it's a year and a half post-surgery. Yeah. I'm still in pain, like just doing something stupid. I mean, I could squat and things like that, but stupid things like leg extensions, even walking lunges would kill. And he was like, man, he's like, just hang in there. He's like, once I hit 2 years, he goes, it finally just started to feel normal again.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, okay. I guess that's encouraging. And sure enough, my experience lined up pretty similar with that. So I think with Branch, I think he was still experiencing a lot of pain. And I think he was still pretty limited in what he was doing. And, when he won that Arnold, there was still a pretty large disparity between left and right leg. But because Branch's legs are so incredible, to start out with, he was able to get away with it. So, I mean, on one hand, I beat myself up because I'm like, dude, 2 years, really? Like, hurry the fuck up. But on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? This is the injury that will retire quite a few guys. You know what, man? It's getting there, and I'm happy with the way that I did it because I didn't rush things. And now it's at a point where it's finally no longer holding me back. It's going really well. So whatever.
Was most of the problem pain or was it weakness?
Well, both, because, dude, I mean, look, we're bodybuilders. We're used to shit hurting, And, you train around it or you train through it. Dude, this was like the kind of, like, if I took the pin out of the leg extension stack and said, okay, I'm going to do just the weight of the apparatus with my injured leg. Yeah. Dude, it not only would hurt like hell, but the leg would like shake. It would like,
oh shit.
Like things that you just, believe me, if I could have just pushed, like there were days where I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to just go through it.
Yeah.
And you just can't, like, it's just not there.
Yeah.
It's just like it was like this, like almost like a physical impediment. I don't know. I think part of it was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Part of it, I started going back again and doing a lot of deep tissue work because I think a lot of it was just issues in the area surrounding it.
Yeah.
And I mean, now it's I don't want to jinx it, but it's good.
So let me ask you this mentally, because I don't know if a lot of people understand this about us, but would you consider your legs a strong or weak point before this happened?
Definitely not a strong point.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of my physique, I'd say a weak point. So
this happening, how does it affect you mentally? Because now you're like, okay, it wasn't a great body part to begin with. And now, So how do you feel now getting back? Like, when do you plan to compete again? And how do you think that's going to affect you going into it?
Well, I'd like to do the New York Pro next spring.
Yeah.
Mentally, the one thing I find encouraging is like when I'm training now, and I think a lot of this is just due to the injury and having to be smarter about my training, like the mind-muscle connection that I have is great.
Yeah.
It's really strong. So like even when I'm squatting, in the past, man, I would just pile on weight and let it rip.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you feel it, maybe you don't.
Yeah, I've been there.
So, and now it's not like that. And obviously you're still trying to train heavy. But I'm feeling everything. And I do notice, like, I leave the gym and it's not like I just leave and I'm like, oh man, my knees ache. Like I'm leaving and like my joints feel okay and my legs feel destroyed.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when I look at my legs, I'm like, damn, they don't look bad. Like they're pretty full. Like they look all right. And then there's other times, you know how it is, man. And you're like, they're shit.
Yeah, I've been there. So do you think, because I just tore my tricep, I'm going on 11 weeks post-surgery. So one of the things I think, like I'm the same way, I can feel the contraction way more and it pumps up. Now that I'm actually lifting like a little bit of weight, it pumps up really, really fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's due to better blood flow because of the new attachment and no scar tissue and all that, or if it's due to focusing on it more mentally.
It could be in the fact that you just have to cut down on the weight. You've got no choice but to try to make it burn with, like no weight.
Yeah.
And my experience, and this is one of the reasons I was so hung up on leg extensions, is because for me, neurologically, dude, I just couldn't get it to fucking fire.
Yeah,
I would do leg presses. I would do squats. I would do any kind of pressing movement. And the next day my glute would be sore and nothing in the quad. Yeah. So once I got to the point where I could finally do something like a leg extension, I could neurologically turn it on, make it burn, then do my pressing movements. Yeah. So, I mean, in your case, if you're already there and, you're already neurologically turning it on, I think that's a great sign.
Well, I don't think a tricep tear is as traumatic as a quad tear. I mean, you have to relearn how to walk and it's kind of a whole different ball game. But I just feel, I always wonder, you think back to when you started lifting and you're talking about letting it rip with just a lot of weight. And I always think now that after this injury, I'm like, I wonder if I had focused more when I started using light weight, if I still could have built the physique by forcing myself to feel it more, because now you're forced to focus. You're forced to feel the muscle working and you're getting development. Like I'm noticing it's starting to come back already.
Right.
So I don't know if that's something, had I employed that to begin with, I could have avoided all these years of torturing my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a fine line because I think we always do have to be training with at least, I don't know, relatively heavy weight.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be just pure brute force, but I think the weight is important. I think a lot of it depends on your genetics, right? Like, I think you look at somebody like Dexter and maybe people like, damn, dude's 50 years old. He's so well preserved. Yeah. I think for someone like Dexter, because he does have really, it's obvious. I mean, there's no denying it. He has incredible genetics.
Yeah.
So I don't think he had to be so abusive in his training. So in the long run, it worked, because he's able to preserve himself, still get a great result, stay healthy, no injuries. So, I mean, that's the ideal scenario. And then you look at the opposite end of the spectrum and you look at someone like, Dorian, who kind of ripped his body apart, because I don't think Dorian had Dexter genetics. So did he have to train a little differently? Maybe not to the extent that he did. He maybe could have played it a little smarter, a little safer. Maybe we could say the same thing about Ronnie, a lot of these guys. But I think when you're in it, it's really tough to do that.
Well, to me, I think it's an interesting debate because people talk about Dorian's genetics, but I don't think you get to his size and conditioning on stage without great genetics for building muscle. His genetics might not have been as great structurally or like aesthetically, but I think he had amazing genetics for putting on muscle. So I just wonder, the age-old debate is, how would have Dorian looked had he started training like Dexter from the very beginning? You know what I mean? Like,
I think he still would have been a really good bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have been Dorian.
No, I personally don't think you get that hard, grainy, dense look without pounding that heavy weight. But could he have gotten to that size and been, you know what I mean? It's just, it's an interesting debate to me to think of, because I think of Ronnie and I'm like, was that purely genetic or was that purely because of his hard work, or was it just so much of both? And that's
Ronnie, on the other hand, I think was such a freak that, I do think he could have trained like Dexter, and I don't want to say train like Dexter, like I'm knocking Dexter's
no, I get it.
Anything like that. But maybe played it a little safer.
Yeah.
And not ended up with the injury. It's still just been a total freakazoid. Yeah, probably.
Freakazoid. I want to change gears a little bit because there's a lot of things about you that are very curious to me that I've seen from the outside looking in. I've always wanted to ask you about. So one of the things I notice is like, you're kind of like the bodybuilding veteran, but not in age, more in like, you kind of live like above the fray a little bit. Okay. It's weird. It's strange. Like, for example, like when this Sean Rhoden stuff came out and the William Bonac stuff came out, I don't even know if you heard about it. And if you did, we never get Evan's opinion. Like I don't ever see, like if I look at your Instagram, it's like a cat with a sandal on its head. And like, it's like a John Deere fucking tractor. And like, it's just this fucking random shit. It's like ramen noodles. Like, I don't like, so I'm always curious, what does Evan think about these things? Because you never comment on them.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing I learned, whether it's watching, maybe celebrities give their input on things, I recognize the fact that most people know me as a bodybuilder and, know me for maybe the content I put out regarding nutrition or whatever. Listen, don't get me wrong, I have lots of opinions, whether it's on politics or pretty much everything. I'm pretty opinionated, but I always kind of refrain usually from giving it unless it's solicited, unless it's asked. But even then, sometimes I'm hesitant. I remember watching this old clip of Elvis, and they were asking him, I think it was about the Vietnam War, in his opinion. And he was just kind of like, I'm an entertainer, and I don't think anybody really wants to hear my opinion on that. So I'm going to just kind of bow out and keep it to myself. And I was like, geez, it's on one hand, I would have liked to have heard his opinion. But on the other hand, I was like, geez, that's kind of classy and that's kind of refreshing. It's kind of cool. Because it's not, you get the opinion because sometimes when people they so want to give their opinion, it's almost like there's almost like an arrogance to it because they just they think they're right. So when asked, I don't have a problem giving my opinion. I don't like kind of always opening my mouth because if there's one thing I've learned as I get older, usually it's in a lot of ways less is more. And usually the best thing to do is keep your mouth shut.
Well, I wish I could learn that because I fucking talk too much. But no, and you know what? You're 100% right about it because there is an air of respect around you because you don't get into these little squabbles and bullshit and the bodybuilding drama. So I believe that's what I meant by you kind of stay above the fray. But at the same time, I think people do want to hear your opinion. You're considered a bodybuilding icon. I think people want to know what does Evan think, for example, about the Sean Rhoden situation and the Olympia banning him. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so in any situation, I'll always try to be as fair as possible, right? Yeah. And try to consider, things from all sides. So okay, Sean Rhoden case. I think first and foremost, when the whole thing, broke with Sean, one of the things that I think bothered me or disappointed me the most was people's response.
Oh yeah.
Right. Now here we don't know all the details. We essentially know nothing. We know that Sean has been charged with something. He's been accused of something. Is it true? Is it not? Don't know. Bottom line, I read some of the comments. I went on his account because I was like, geez, I'm kind of curious to hear see what people are saying.
Yeah.
And, honestly, man, there was some support for him, which was nice. There was a lot of people, man, I just felt like it was just so gross. People just aren't the cops looking for you? Just saying really nasty things. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, you know what, man, this is somebody's life, okay? And it's his life, and obviously there's this woman involved in the situation. There's both of them, right?
Yep.
And any way you slice it, it's an extremely unfortunate situation that this has happened. that it's gotten to this point, whether it happened as she says it happened or it didn't. Either way, the whole thing is totally unfortunate. It's sad. People's lives are going to be upset, ruined. It's so anyway, and for people to just be so unsensitive to go in and just make a mockery or a joke out of the situation is just so terrible. Like, just how could people be so? And listen, I don't consider myself the most sensitive guy.
No, I hear you.
Looking at it, I said, it's just so insensitive.
Yeah, me and Luke were talking about it, and I said, I just can't believe it's kind of like the Ronnie situation with him being hurt and back in the gym, and people seem to revel in other people's misery.
Yeah.
There's like it's like half of social media is like normal people, and then there's like another half that just, they are so happy when someone, if something bad happens to them.
Well, you know what I think a lot of it is, Fouad, with social media? I think there's a lot of people in their daily lives who they kind of don't feel important.
Yeah.
They don't really feel like they have much of a voice. Maybe the job they have, or maybe the place they hold in the relationships that they have, whether it's with a significant other or just friendships, they just don't really feel important.
Yeah.
And so they look at social media as an opportunity to get on there, to just be out there and say something profound, and maybe it's offensive, maybe they think they're witty, maybe whatever it is, but an opportunity to feel like somebody.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's usually at the expense of somebody else, and it's I don't know, it's, for lack of a better description, it's just fucking bad behavior.
Where do you stand on what the Olympia did, though? That's what I'm curious about.
I was really surprised, to be honest. I mean, here's someone who's been accused of something. Okay, had he been convicted, had it been proven, okay, I can understand. But here's a guy, and he happens to be the best in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is how he makes his living. And I mean, it's kind of like they're punishing him and making a determination before there's been any actual judgment. I was pretty surprised. And listen, I'm sure maybe there's a side to it from their perspective that I'm not.
Yeah, maybe it's not public yet. Yeah.
There could be something they know that I don't know.
Yeah.
So I always recognize that as a possibility. But just based on purely what I do know, I was a bit surprised, and I would say, geez, if there is nothing else, that I don't know, then I would be a bit surprised and think, geez, that's kind of a bummer that they would.
Yeah. I felt the same way. I kind of was like, this is your guy. This is Mr. Olympia. This is the guy that you put up on a pedestal, and you just walked away from him without, with nothing.
I mean, at least to say, listen, to release a statement and say, listen,
there's many ways they could have went about it. They could have just put it on hold. They could have suspended him until the trial was done. They could have done like a million different things, but the knee-jerk reaction to just banned for life is like...
Oh, that's what it is, banned for life?
Oh, yeah, it's not just this Olympia.
Wow.
As far as I know, it's banned for life.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I could only think maybe they know something that we don't, but because I don't know what else would justify that kind of response.
But the only thing that would justify that response is conviction, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, there has been no actual determination as to regard his innocence or his guilt. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty surprising to me. I think I think it sucks.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Where do you there's all this other shit going on with Neil and William Bonac and all that, and I don't want to make this whole thing about drama, but just briefly, just because, like I said, we don't ever get your opinions on these things. So,
well, before we go on, let me just say one more thing, and I think it's very possible, like you said, their knee-jerk response.
Yeah.
And I was watching the news the other night, and apparently this is a new thing now. There's people in inner cities, when cops are responding to situations, they've been hosing cops down with water guns. And
I think I saw something about that.
throwing buckets of water at him. And I was amazed to see the cops just not respond at all and just allow it. And I thinking to myself, damn, like, how could you allow something like that?
Yeah.
And, people weighing in on the matter were like, and I think a lot of times they just don't have the backing of their department. So say someone comes up and they douse you with a bucket of water and you engage that person to arrest them. They resist. You end up in an altercation. The person gets hurt. And then in the end, what it ends up looking like is, well, you ended up hurting this person because they got you wet. So
but
stupid. When in reality, there's much more to it than that.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, with something like the Olympia, does the Mr. Olympia make a determination like this just because they're so afraid to come under any kind of scrutiny from anyone, just because that's the current climate that we're living in?
Yeah.
If you don't ban Sean Rhoden, you're this and you're that.
Yeah.
Is it a byproduct of that? Very possibly.
Well, I thought that because that's the way our kind of society and a lot of things in the news are going. But I feel like there is another movement of kind of standing up to that shit. Like there was the Me Too movement, which I feel like was important, but went too far. They started just rounding up anybody and everybody. And they were putting people like Louis C.K. in the same camp as Bill Cosby. And I'm like, that's not the same thing, right? And then, so there was a whole bunch of knee-jerk reactions. And I think now it's kind of slowed down and people are like, wait a minute, we need to hear these things out. And I feel like the Olympia was still stuck back in the age where they're like, holy shit, we just got to do something.
Right.
I feel like they didn't have enough integrity to say, okay, wait a minute, this is our guy. We got to stand behind him until we find out what's wrong. Yeah,
just to say, listen, this is just the American way, that we all presume someone's innocence until they are in fact proven guilty.
Yeah.
And we would give any of our athletes that respect. I mean, that just seems kind of like the bare minimum. But like I said, maybe there is something we don't know. If it is purely a product of just the current social justice warrior climate, then I think that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do recognize the fact that I may not be privy to all the details. But whatever.
Let me ask you this. You sound like you enjoy politics and social discussions. Am I right? I feel it sounds like you have a lot of opinions on these things.
Well, I do. Again, I don't always like to spout them off. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, though, I do try to see things from both sides.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Sure.
When you watch the news, what news do you watch?
And honestly, I watch Fox, I watch CNN, because I won't be someone who says, just immerses themselves and surrounds themselves with people who maybe just think like them.
Yep.
Well, let me, because this is one angle. So let me hear someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
And then I'll decide whether I think that's stupid or not, or I say, okay, you know what, guy's got a point.
That it made me really happy that you said that. I recently did a 20,000 calorie challenge which I failed. I couldn't eat 20,000 calories because I'm not man enough, apparently. But it was funny. In the background of the video, the Young Turks was playing at one point. And I think CNN, I don't know if you know what the Young Turks is.
Yep.
It's a progressive news outlet, whatever. I know some people have heard of it, I'm sure. And then I think CNN might have been playing at one point too. And I got roasted in the comments section of the video, which is totally fine, right? I expected it. I even said to my wife when I saw the first cut of the video, I said, as soon as people see that, and it's way in the background, I said, as soon as people see that, I'm going to catch so much shit.
Oh, for sure.
But the part those people don't understand is I'm like you. The other half of the time I'm watching Fox, or I'm listening to like Ben Shapiro, or I'm kind of the same way you are. I probably lean more center left, but I still want to know what everybody thinks.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? Like I'll listen to a Trump rally. You know what I mean? I'll listen to what he has to say. But then I'll put on Fox News afterwards and hear what they have to say. So that's kind of just the way I absorb it.
Yeah, listen, I think it's important. I think really when things go wrong, it's because people aren't, they're refusing to consider anyone else's viewpoint. It's just like, nope, this is it. And it's ironic because we're supposed to be living in a time where people are more open-minded and more tolerant. And it seems like that in so many ways, it's the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the last 10 years or so has been, I think, really weird. Because, I mean, if I think back to like when I was graduating high school or in college, maybe I just wasn't maybe I just wasn't as conscious of it. Maybe the same discussions were going on. But, with things like gender and race just being like so center stage at the moment, and it's just like, I thought we're kind of past that. Like, why is it now more than ever the color of someone's skin is so important? And it's just like, wait a minute, isn't this, are we going backwards?
But do you think it's, and I agree with you. I agree with you the same thing. I'm like, I just said this to my training partner, Paul, yesterday. I said, wasn't this like 60 years ago? Didn't we already like get past this shit? But then
honestly, I'm so tired of hearing about it. I mean, I don't know.
But what I want to ask you is, do you think it's warranted? Because I know some people believe racism doesn't exist.
Oh, of course. Racism is rampant. Of course it exists.
So you do believe it's there. Now, the other question I want to ask you is, and I don't know if this is something you want to discuss or not, but are you a Trump supporter?
I think if I'm gonna be totally honest, overall, yes, I do support the president. Yeah. I think that he says, I think his communication skills leave a bit to be desired.
To say the least.
To put it nicely.
Yeah.
But I think if we're going to judge, and listen, do I think Donald Trump is an exemplary human being? I mean, we can go into all things, but if I'm going to judge based on what I think he's doing or attempting to do for the country, what his policy is aimed at, what his goals are, I do believe that he is an American through and through, that he is pushing for policy that is in line with American ideals. I mean, it's not like he's pushing for anything that if you pull up, clips of Bill Clinton from the 90s that he wasn't advocating or supporting. I think a lot of it is just common sense things. And I think that a lot of people are up in arms. I mean, listen, if we're going to just as using illegal immigration as an example, listen, America is a country built on immigration. It's a country of immigrants. Immigrants are an integral part of our country, right? Yes, 100%. However, there's a process, right? And it has to be done in a certain fashion. As is the case with any other country, no country just opens its doors and let it be a free-for-all.
I agree.
There's a process, there's an order to it, and it's all for good reason. It's for security, there's health reasons. You need to know who is coming in and out of your country. And there's a process. Bottom line, there's laws, and that's just the way it is.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think just for anyone to advocate anything else, I think they're thinking a little bit too emotionally. Yeah. Not just looking at it as a rational matter. It's certainly a financial thing. I mean, when you consider the fact there are people in our own country who could use attention, there's homeless, there's people in poverty, there's veterans, and then to expend resources on people whose first introduction to this country is the breaking of a federal law. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't justify it. That isn't to say should we accept refugees, etc. Yes, of course. Yeah. But there has to be order to it. There has to be it has to be done logically.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody rationally would agree with open borders. I think that's a little bit crazy.
I think a lot of people are surprisingly in favor of it.
I don't think it's a lot of people. I think it's a lot of loud people.
That's a good point.
I think it's the fringe. Look, I think the fringe on the left and the fringe on the right are both a little bit out there.
Yeah, I think they're equally as crazy. Absolutely.
I think the majority of people believe in rational things. Like, look, you seem like you probably lean a little right. I seem like I lean probably a little left.
Right.
But we both agree that you should have borders.
Yes.
And I think we both agree with like common sense things.
Right.
And I think when it comes to Trump, I do believe you're right. I think a lot of his policies are well-intentioned. And I do think a lot of them line up with previous presidents. I think the problem people are having is, like, one of the things I think, I won't say people, one of the things I think is, I feel like the tone of the country comes from the top down. The behavior of the country comes from your president. You know, and people look to that person to, how do we behave? How do we speak? How do we act? When Obama was in office, people were like, well, this guy's a little soft. We don't want to act like that. He's too soft. But I feel like it's the pendulum swung the other way with Trump, because now you have a stronger person, which is, you know, that's a good thing in certain situations. But he also doesn't feel like he has the caring aspect where he's like, I do care about this side over here, even though they don't agree with me.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of where the divisiveness comes from in the population, because they're like, well, our president doesn't give a shit about those people. Why should we?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't underestimate the impact that the media and the way that they choose to, they put their own spin on things, both whether it be in support of him or in opposition of him.
Yeah.
And people are, I believe, influenced by that. But yes, no, I agree. I think that he, as a leader, you know, you're one of the things you hope for in a leader is their ability to unify people and rally them, regardless of whether they come from different schools of thought, different backgrounds, etc. Yes, so I agree. I mean, listen, is Donald Trump the model president?
Listen, I love watching his rallies. Okay, there's a lot about him that I do love. He's fucking entertaining. Like, it's like I've never ever been able to watch a presidential speech to just put me to sleep. Right? He's entertaining, but I just feel like there's a level of decorum that needs to be held in that office.
Yeah.
And that's the only problem I have. His policies are good. His intentions, I think, are good. I just feel like if he carried himself a little bit, I don't know what the term I'm looking for. If he carried himself at a higher level, it would be better for the office itself. That's the only.
I mean, listen, we could. I think a lot of people would agree that Donald Trump, look, he's a bit crude, right?
Yeah.
He's a bit rough, and ideally he would be someone who, is an eloquent and embracing speaker and all these things. Maybe he's not those things. He is who and what he is. And if I'm going to be totally honest, I do think that he is trying to help this country. Yeah. I think the United States has lost a lot of ground on the international stage, well, both internationally and domestically. I don't think the country is anything close to what it could and should be.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that. I think that's what spurred his running for president. And I don't know. I don't know. I hope I don't offend anybody watching this for saying it, but that's just how I feel.
No, there's no. Listen, if anybody, I don't think either one of us is saying anything that's absolute in either direction. Like, we're not saying anything disrespectful in either direction. We're being, I think, very measured in our comments. So if anybody gets offended, if you get offended by this conversation, then you're one of the people on the far left or the far right that needs to just relax a little bit. So switching gears a little bit, I want to ask you something. So you've always been very meticulous when it comes to detail. It's something I always envied watching you in whether you're cooking on YouTube or whatever, and you pay attention to very, very small details that most people just gloss over. Why are you eating fast food?
Because it does, at least for me, serve a practical purpose, and that is, every once in a while, maybe once, even sometimes maybe twice a week, I might have days where, I don't know, say I'm working outside for a long period of time, or, I'm just doing something where I know I'm expending a lot of calories.
Yeah.
And I just need a big hit of calories.
Yeah.
And that's what I look to kind of get that calorie dose. And, listen, 95% of what I eat is food that I cook at home.
Yeah.
From singular ingredients, and it's very plain and it's very clean. But I do think there is a value in once in a while. When you get to the point where you no longer eat any of that food and your body's not able to even process it, that's not a great thing. You do want, I think, keep up your digestive ability for stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, maybe not from a health standpoint, but from just a bodybuilding standpoint, practically speaking, it can serve a functional purpose.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would be surprised to see that, based on your YouTube videos and like your cooking and your prep videos. I don't think it's a bad thing personally, but I've always been a fat kid at heart. The thing is, some people that espouse the healthy eating and natural foods only would say, I don't believe that food belongs anywhere. I don't think it fits anywhere in a diet.
Right.
And I feel like those people are too extreme, but what do you say to those people that are like, that food doesn't?
Hey, they're certainly welcome to keep it out of their diet. And I'm going to, maybe I'll get to the point where I feel the same way.
Yeah.
At the moment, I don't feel that way, so I'm going to continue to eat it. So everybody's free to do exactly what they like. That's the beauty of this.
I guess what I'm asking for the bodybuilders listening, because a lot of these young guys listen and they kind of look up to what us and what we're doing. And I guess what I'm asking you is, you don't see a problem with it in a bodybuilding diet as long as it doesn't get overboard. No,
I think you run into problems when you're eating a lot of food, prepared food. Yeah. Listen, I think one of the most important things is, whether it's as a bodybuilder or just as a human being, when you go to the grocery store, you don't buy things in boxes and bags. You buy single ingredients to prepare your food, and your food is simple and it's as close to natural as can be.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, if you want to treat yourself to something, you have it. But I think it's important, I think, to drive home the point of, by and large, considering the volume of food that someone like yourself or myself eats,
yeah.
If you're eating 6 meals a day, and, 1 or 2 meals a week is kind of off the path.
Yeah.
You're really talking a pretty small percentage.
Yeah.
Even a much smaller percentage than your average person. Right? If your average person is eating 3 meals a day,
yeah,
and you and I know they're eating off their diet more than once or twice a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's much greater percentage wise.
Yeah.
Listen, Michael Phelps is an Olympic athlete, and you know how he ate preparing, to win those gold medals. So, I think all endeavors, all sports, especially at a competitive and or elite level, there's the question of health, and then there's the question of performance and, accomplishing the goal at hand. And hopefully we can all find a good balance between the two. But I think it's important for everyone to keep in mind that the two aren't always the same thing, optimal health and optimal performance. Yes, to perform optimally, you need to have a reasonable amount of health.
Yeah.
You can't be on your deathbed.
Yeah.
But not everything you do will be in line with the goal of optimum health.
No, I agree with you 100%. I tell people all the time, and you may disagree with me on this, but I personally think bodybuilding in itself is not a healthy sport, not necessarily because of what we eat or what we take or anything like that, but more so just because I don't believe the human body is meant to be carrying around 250 pounds of muscle. I think that in itself is too extreme for us on the health spectrum.
By design, it's a sport of excess. And that in itself, I mean, you're not, I mean, if you look at people who are the healthiest and living the longest, they don't eat a whole lot.
Yeah.
They usually have low growth hormone levels.
Yeah.
So, bodybuilding is the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. And that's what I try and tell people when they point to like, well, it's the steroids or this. I'm like, it's not. I'm like, people point to like Dallas McCarver, for example.
Right.
And I'll say, okay, there's a couple things there. One, it's genetic. That was like a hereditary thing. And two, it's not the drugs he was carrying around. Like that guy was 330 pounds lean. So that means he's carrying around like a lean body mass of 280, 290 pounds.
It's a large strain. That's
a lot of muscle for the body to be pumping blood to on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, and I mean, sure, at a certain size and, you're using all this shit, is your blood pressure, these are a lot of things. I mean, we all need to be cognizant of this stuff. And, I don't know, I've got a blood pressure cuff at home that I keep track of it all the time. Regularly go for blood work, especially making sure to look at things like, your C-reactive protein, just to kind of, know what your potential is for
sorry to interrupt you, because I get my blood work done probably 3 times a year at least, sometimes 4. What's your C-reactive protein? Because I don't think I can get that checked.
I've got the paperwork upstairs. If you
no. What's your number?
Oh, okay.
What does it measure?
I know they break it into 3 categories. They're like low risk, average, and I don't know, above average or high risk or whatever it is.
But it's not like what I'm asking is like, and this may sound like a really dumb question, so forgive me, but what organ is it tied to? Like, what are we measuring?
Oh, I see. I mean, it's supposed to be an indicator for cardio, like the risk of having a cardiovascular event, your likelihood of having a heart attack.
Okay.
However, it could be, supposedly, as I understand it, it's linked to just inflammation and damage in any organ system in the body. So it could be an indicator of just some problem somewhere in your system.
Okay.
And mine chronically shows up very low. So that, that's good, right? It gives me some kind of confidence. Not to mention, it's been about 2 years, but this kid that I was coaching, his girlfriend was, I'm assuming she still is, the head of ultrasound at a hospital up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, my girl, she gives me a hard time a bit about bodybuilding, and she knows you've been doing it for a long time. She wants to take a look inside, basically, and see what you look like.
Yeah.
Your liver, your kidneys, your arteries, etc.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to come up? He's like, it's a lot of testing, so it's great because you'll have it, but then she kind of gets to satisfy her curiosity.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, so I went up there on a Saturday morning early. This is, like I said, about maybe 2 years ago by now. But and listen, I was to be honest, I was expecting to hear, this is a little, it's not bad, but it's a little beat up, and this is that. There was a little nodule on my thyroid, which I had known about. The doctor had told me back in 2009 that I had that. But she was like, man, your kidneys, your liver, there's no scar tissue. Everything looks to be functioning perfectly. Your arteries are clear. I don't see any plaque buildup. Yeah. And then a separate guy came in to look at my heart. And he's like, geez, I can't believe it. It's not even thickened at all. He's like, I have athletes who come in. They're just, say, a basketball player or something. Yeah. And, I've seen more, more in them than I do with you. So I was really surprised to hear all that, but obviously pleasantly surprised.
Can I ask you, do you think, because this is stuff I'm extremely interested in, because like I get my blood work done a lot. I'm always trying to reverse things. Like I'm going to be honest with you. All my shit's not great.
Right.
Do you think that your blood work and that all that testing you did, do you think that's a result of the way you eat because all the singular ingredients, or do you think that's genetic, or both?
I think it's certainly a combination of both, right? I mean, I've always recognized the fact that as a bodybuilder, okay, I'm going to do some things to my body that are unkind.
Yeah.
Right? They're maybe not going to help my health. Right. Yeah. So let me try to otherwise be, pretty good. I'm going to go to bed on time. I'll make sure I get enough rest. I don't drink. I don't do recreational drugs. And I try to eat really well. However, I would it would be wrong of me to just like take all the credit for it, because I think a large portion of it is
I'm sorry I'm laughing the way you said that. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, go on.
You know, I think a lot of it is just how you do or don't respond to things. I mean, I remember way back, you know, when I first, you know, started taking stuff, and a buddy of mine, we started at the same time, and first time he took stuff, you know, all his hair started falling out, and you know, or you have friends, they do it and they're all broken out in acne or whatever. So listen, part of bodybuilding, or any other sport for that matter, is your ability to kind of take the beating.
Yeah.
How well can you hold up to it? Listen, we know that there's people that smoke cigarettes. Now, we know that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're not, nothing good is going to happen from you smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
But there's some people that amazingly, they can fucking smoke cigarettes and live to 100. And they may be the minority.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not advocating that.
Yeah.
But you can't deny the fact that there's some people, they just seem to withstand things better than others. So yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, hopefully, you know, you're not, if you're someone who you attempt to bodybuild and you want to do it maybe at a competitive level, but you know, you're getting a lot of bad signs, you know, a lot of bad shit is happening. And this is early on, you know, your blood pressure is bad, you're broken out, you're losing your hair. Maybe take it as a sign that, you know, it's only going to get worse from here. Maybe pick a different endeavor.
The problem is, I feel like for those people, it's really strange. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, but let's say you're 21 and maybe you have self-esteem issues, and you decide you want to bodybuild. You start taking steroids and you break out really badly.
Right.
The answer usually for those kids is more steroids, because they're like, okay, well, now my body looks like shit. I have acne everywhere. I got to get bigger, right? Like the solution was not the common sense thing that you said, which is, okay, maybe you should back off. Maybe you should think of something else. The solution is usually, let's put my foot down further on the gas and see if I can get bigger, and that will solve all my problems.
Maybe some more hair of the dog that bit me. I don't know. I guess it's kind of,
it's just what I've seen. And the same thing goes for women. Like, for example, like if a woman starts getting side effects, and I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but it's what I've seen.
Right.
A woman starts getting side effects. Maybe she gets some hair growth on her face, whatever side effects you want to. I almost feel like they're like, well, I already have the side effects. I might as well keep going from here.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like I should stop. It's more like, I might as well go all the way through with it.
Fuck it. We're going all in.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the situation, but that's kind of how it feels to me when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. And I mean, hey, you know what? I think if you want to take stuff until your hair falls out and you look like a dude or whatever, I think you should do that. I think if that's what you like, absolutely. Because you know what? I got things that I like doing, and I don't want anybody giving me a hard time about it. Because
we're not judging anybody.
Do whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I can only say how I would, you know, and I always said, you know, if I lost my hair or I started losing my hair, I would probably, maybe that would be the point at which I said, okay, you know.
So I lost my hair at like 33. You think I should have retired? Like, I should have retired 7 years ago, according to the Evan Centopani.
No, but I know that I'm not supposed to lose my hair.
How do you know that?
I just know that about myself.
Why?
So
how come you're like immune to the hair loss?
Because I just certain things you feel like, okay, you know, I'm prone to this or I'm prone to that, but I'm not prone to that. So if that starts happening, if that starts happening, then shit's really bad, and you gotta fix your shit. You know,
it's kind of like me with acne. Like, I had a little bit of gyno when I was younger. I lost my hair, but I never got acne.
Right. So if you started getting acne everywhere, you'd be like, dude, something is wrong. Right.
Yeah. If I break out in acne at like 40, there's a problem. So listen, I want to ask you some questions. I want to get to something. So one of the things I noticed about you is, and this kind of goes back to the living above the fray thing, you don't like to identify as a bodybuilder. I always kind of felt like you don't always want to talk about bodybuilding. You don't always want to be identified as a bodybuilder. You kind of like living outside of that world.
Right.
Did you got a degree in university or college, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was your degree in?
Sociology.
Hey man, listen, there's nothing to laugh at. You got a degree. I fucking left school after university after 2 years.
Okay.
Because I decided I want to be a bodybuilder, and that was the most important thing. So I just left, right? But
yeah, but you know what, man? College, I don't think that's for everybody, and I think the current climate is stupid. Everybody's going to school. A college degree isn't really worth a whole lot at this point. I mean, depending where you go, what you get it in, but I mean, most people are leaving school with all sorts of debt. They end up with some stupid job that isn't even sufficient to pay back their loans. Honestly, if I could do it all over again, I'd probably go back to school. I'd learn something like, I don't know, maybe like a trade, like ironworking or something like that. You know?
Well, the thing is, I think college is really important. The problem is they put such a premium on it financially that it's no longer become worth it.
Right.
You know, you leave, like, it's not that college or university is not important. Like, if I had a child, I would definitely push them in that direction, but it would be tough to justify it when they're leaving school with $100,000 in debt.
You know, and listen, man, you're in high school, you go right in, you don't know what the hell you're going to do with a degree or what you want it to be in. And I don't know. And there was, at least, when I was entering college, I always felt like there was such like a desire to steer people away from anything blue collar.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I have friends that are in the trades. They crush it, man.
They're killing it. Yeah, I know.
If you're good at what you do,
because nobody knows how to do shit anymore.
Exactly.
And I'm saying that as
the last thing the world needs is another person with a fucking sociology degree. Like I said.
Now listen, I'm saying that as one of those people that doesn't know how to do shit. So like when I see you welding together your own fucking stereo speakers, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's welding speaker frames together. Fucking. So yeah, I'm very envious of guys that do know a trade of some sort. Because my dad was a welder, and I never picked up that talent, that working with your hands talent. If I hang a picture frame, I'm proud of myself. So it's just the way I am. But where I was going with the conversation was, where in your college journey did you decide, I'm going to go into bodybuilding, and what made you walk away from whatever other profession you might have wanted to go? Like, when did you know you wanted to be a bodybuilder?
Well, see, for me, and this is something I try to explain to people who seem like bent on like making this determination, like making this decision. And it's like, man, most things should just kind of be, I think, an evolution. Like for, me, and I think I was just really lucky to have it happen this way.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm in college, I'm bodybuilding, I love bodybuilding, I'm obsessed with it, put a lot of time into it. Great. Get out of college, I'm working full time, and I'm working
where were you working?
For a law firm, and also for a title company, doing title abstraction, and when people sell a property or refinance it, you've got to, they purchase title insurance, and someone like myself goes out and you develop a whole report on the property as to what encumbers it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Sounds like a big deal. It's not. So I'm doing that. I'm still bodybuilding. I end up doing my first competition. Okay, it was cool. Do really well, but it's just back to work. Like I didn't have any these dreams or delusions of like making any kind of career out of it. A year goes by. Okay, I'm gonna do one more show. I'm doing another show.
Wait a minute. Back up a bit. So this whole time you're kind of bodybuilding for fun while you're in school. It's just fun. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a bodybuilder. You're just training because you like it.
No, I just fucking love it. I'm obsessed with it. I just love it.
Okay, so at what point? When did you do your first show? Were you out of school at that point?
I was out of school. I was out of school for a year.
Yeah.
And a guy I'm training with was like, dude, you should do a show. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. I'll do the show. So I do it. I win the heavyweights in the overall. Good show too. Pretty competitive.
Yeah.
But that was it. I just want to do it one time. Okay, that was cool. Wow, got in great shape. That was awesome. Never had abs before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to work. So a year later, I meet Dave Palumbo in an airport. I went to watch in Olympia.
Yeah.
And in the airport on the way back, I meet Dave, sitting next to him in the airport. We get talking. Oh, well, why don't you do another show? I'll help you. Okay, so do the Junior Nationals. Win that one.
Yeah.
Well, you just won the Junior Nationals, and Muscular Development put me on a cover. Okay, so now you got to do the Nationals. So I start thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
But still, I'm not looking to quit my job or anything. So I go to Nationals. I take runner up, to Desmond, who ends up winning it.
Yeah.
And yep.
Yeah.
And so now I say, okay, maybe there's really something here. So I come back the next year and I win it. But I'm still, and I've got contractual support at this point.
But are you still working your regular job at this point?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you still think before the Desmond show, like where Desmond won that show, do you still think you're just going to keep working, or you like have aspirations now?
No, not even thinking about quitting my job or anything like that.
When did you decide, okay, that's it, I'm just going to focus 100%?
Well, after I turned pro, see, it was just kind of the timing of things, because the housing market, right? So I turned pro in 2007.
Yeah.
The housing market takes a shit.
Yeah.
Around that time, right? So work gets slow. Now, when I was in college and working full time after college, the housing market was going fucking berserk.
Yeah.
And so I had work coming out the, what?
Yeah.
It's not that now at this point, it's not that way anymore, right? And I'm, a typical day, I'm driving all around, because you got to go all to whatever town the property's in. That's the town you've got to go to actually do your search. So, I'm driving all over the freaking state, not making a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And I've got contractual support at this point where I don't technically need to keep my job. So I end up letting it go. Had things still been booming, I probably would have just kept working. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So you were never the kind of guy that needed to focus 100%. Because for me, I was like, everybody's different. I guess I'm a little envious of your situation, but for me, I wasn't able to bodybuild unless I was like, this is the only thing I'm doing.
Right.
Like I quit jobs. I left school.
Right.
Like I was working just like a shitty bar job just so I could bodybuild.
Right.
I didn't want to work a real job because I just wanted to focus.
Right.
So it's crazy to hear the opposite side of the spectrum where it's like you would have kept working your normal job.
Yeah, because, a lot of it, too, is the nature of if I was working manual labor, I would say, okay, that'd be a little tough.
Yeah.
But, it was a job where I'm driving around a lot of the day. If I need to stop, throw down a meal, I do it.
Yeah.
And then the day's over, I go and I pound it out in the gym.
Yeah.
So I was able to do everything I had to, in a prep, especially as a show would get close, I would maybe scale back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess because I started that way, I was used to it. So I just did it.
Let me ask you this, and this is probably a really vague question, but I'm going to throw it out there because it hit me. Is bodybuilding easy for you? Like, do you struggle with any aspect of bodybuilding, or is it all just kind of easy? It kind of goes with your life and it's simple.
Well, first, I mean, I guess if I'm all things being relative, right? I can only compare what I see with some other people, and I would have to answer and say, by and large, I guess maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a hard time sticking to a diet or, eating. Look, I feel like I've been eating the same food now half my freaking life.
Wait, I want to interrupt you. You're Italian, right?
Yeah.
And
only half.
Okay, but you were a heavier kid growing up.
Yeah.
Why is food? Okay, food is an issue for me. Like I'm fucking, I can't stop fucking eating, and I do have trouble sticking to a diet. Not when I'm prepping for a show. Then I'm like laser focused, right? But how do you not have that problem?
I don't know. Oddly, I don't know. I don't know. I'm able to do it. Maybe I'm a little bit of a psychopath. I don't know.
Is it an OCD thing?
Yeah, there's definitely some OCD tendencies that I have.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, does the pleasure of having the food outweigh the guilt that comes after? And like, I'm so bent on like physically and mentally feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
That like I can't break away from it.
See, I don't think past the eating part. That's what. Is it going to taste good? Yes. Okay, that's good enough.
We'll deal with later.
Deal with the pain of it afterwards. Listen, we've been on for like an hour, so I want to get to a couple quick hitters just because people kind of, they like some of the bodybuilding questions. So I want to get into like some straight up bodybuilding questions.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know this, I say this all the time. So those who watch the podcast, I apologize. But the reason I started doing this is because I want us as the professional bodybuilders to have our own voice.
Yeah.
Instead of people on the fringes, like, I'm not going to name any names, but you know who they are.
Right.
That say we take this amount or that amount, and we take this thing or that thing. And
I get so tired of hearing all pro bodybuilders do this or all pro bodybuilders do that. And, and not like I could really give a shit, but the reason it bothers me is because you've got a whole crop of younger guys coming up and they hear stuff like that and they believe it. And half of it's fucking bullshit. Well, better than half of it,
Yeah, no, that's exactly the reason why I'm doing this. Cause I'm like, the biggest pet peeve I have is the line, I have a friend, he's a pro bodybuilder, he does this. I'm like, okay, let's just hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
First of all, you don't have any friends.
But yeah, no, so that's, I feel like if I can get enough of you guys to come on and we can get enough out, we can kind of silence those people. So the first question, and you can answer or not answer, it's up to you, but I wanted to talk about gear a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into super specifics for your cycles or anything like that. I just want to know, one of the questions I kind of ask everybody is, what do you think the average dose for testosterone is? I've already said what I think in previous podcasts, so people already know what my answer is going to be. But what would be the average dose of testosterone weekly, you think, for guys on our level?
For guys on our level?
Yeah.
Geez, I don't know, because surprisingly, and a lot of us are friends, but a lot of us, I feel like when we're together, we don't like to talk shit like that. You know what I mean?
For the people you know. or top amateurs that you help coach or anything like that.
Under 1,000 milligrams.
Okay, that's low.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, anybody watching this, let me give you a valuable piece of it. I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. The absolute best result you'll ever get from testosterone, right? I'm talking going from taking nothing. Okay, if you go from nothing to taking, say, 500 milligrams a week, that will be the greatest result you ever get. I'm not saying you won't get more result from taking more, but it will all be like smaller improvements from there.
Yep, I agree with that.
Look, going from 0 to 500 is fucking huge. When you go from 500 to 750, okay, a little more. 750 to 1,000, okay, a little more.
See, my sweet spot, I've experimented with high doses, okay? There was one year I went up to 2,000, and I was like, because of stuff I heard, because of exactly what I'm talking about, stuff I heard online.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've heard of guys taking just 3 grams a test.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Before they even touch anything else.
That's right. So I was like, I'm going to try what they're talking about. Didn't do shit. I got watery, and I actually did get acne that year. Not a lot, but I got some. And I just got watery, and it felt like I got fatter. It didn't really do what I thought it was going to do.
And dude, think about this, right? You only got so much room.
Yeah.
Meaning like receptor space, okay?
Yep.
If you're taking, say, 3 grams a test, then you're going to start putting other things in there. Do you even have room for it? Like, you know what I mean? Or are you just occupying space and the other shit can't even do, you know what I mean? Can't even get where, get to it.
I found the sweet spot for me is 1250.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
That's kind of where I've found, because I tried to go lower last year. I tried to experiment. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try the 750. I think I was at I forget if I was at 900 or 750. I can't remember what it was. It was somewhere. It was under 1,000 though.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it for 3 or 4 months, and I just never really felt right in the gym. I just didn't feel the same amount of like power that I normally have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. So I talked to a buddy, and he's like, look, man, you can't, he's like, it's also about how long you've been at a certain level. He's like,
Right.
if you're used to being at 1250 or even 1500,
Right.
you're not going to go back to 750 and feel the same way, no matter how good your diet is or whatever else. So
Makes sense.
I think I kind of screwed myself by going up too fast.
Right.
That's the other thing a lot of these young guys don't know is if you do go to 2000 because so-and-so said so, and you do
where do you go from there?
Well, it's not only that. If you try to go back, you can't. If you do that for a couple years and then you try and go back to 750, you're like, oh shit, I don't feel good anymore.
Just chill out. Like try to get a result. And listen, I'm gonna do a lot of you guys watching this a favor too. If you can't take 500 mgs of something your first time out and get a result, there might be an indication like that. Doing 1,000 isn't going to do a whole lot for you either, man. Like it might be a bad sign.
I never thought of it that way. That's actually a really good point because most guys do think, well, I took 500, didn't do shit. I better take 1,000.
If 500 didn't do it for you, 1,000 probably ain't going to do shit either. There's
a couple caveats to that I'll throw in. If 500 is not doing anything, your diet's probably shit. If your diet is on point and 500 is not doing anything, your training is shit. If all three are on point and it's not doing anything, then you're genetically not meant to bodybuild.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, because most guys, like I just got this message, I got this question yesterday in my Q&A that I do, is if I'm 25% body fat, is that a good time to start using steroids? My answer was, if you're 25% body fat, you don't know how to fucking eat.
Yeah, and you got no business
taking steroids. That's kind of what I was like, don't use the steroids to lose the weight. Learn how to eat first, right? So
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I read things, kids, it's their first time out and they're doing this and they're doing that. And I think, listen, the bottom line is, if you and I sat here and we're like, you guys, you shouldn't do stuff. Listen, it's a competitive sport. You know what I mean? People are going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But I would hope to encourage people to try to do it in a way that's sane.
Yeah.
If that's at all possible, and not damage your health, to try to stay up on your, get your blood work done, keep your blood pressure in check. Don't eat like an idiot. And certainly don't be going out drinking and, doing other kinds of drugs. It's just funny because in this country, and I'm sure it's the same way in any other country, if you go out and you get plastered every weekend, nobody thinks anything of it.
Yeah.
If you're, leading a lifestyle that's very strict and, a lot of exercise and you're eating well, but you do something to enhance that goal, people freak out.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm not even doing this for, look, the health reasons are important. I'm just trying to put a number on it because there's so many fake numbers out there that I'm trying to get somebody real on the show. Say, no, these are the real numbers. I don't care if you do it. I don't care if you're healthy. I don't care what you do. You're going to do whatever you want to do, like you said. But at least you should know what we're doing. That way you're not listening to the false bullshit that's out there. That's all I'm trying to do.
There's so much bad. And unfortunately, the bottom line is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Information out there.
Well, it's crazy. You know what? I am going to name names just because how fucked up it is. So I just saw doctor in quotes because he's not really a doctor, but Dr. Tony Huge just put up, and I comment about this guy all the time because he's such a fucking train wreck.
Who is he?
He's got this. Okay, first of all, he's got this thing online. It's like game.
Wait, hold on. First of all, is he huge?
No, that's the craziest part. I'm like, why is anybody listening to this guy?
Wait, so you're telling me he's not huge and he's not a doctor?
No, that's what I said the first time I saw this guy. I'm like, okay, you're not huge and you're not a doctor, so your name's Tony. From now on, your name is fucking Tony.
Is your name even Tony?
So he put up a video saying you put on 20 pounds of muscle in 30 days, like pure muscle tissue, not 20 pounds of weight. And I'm like, okay. So immediately I'm like, this guy's an asshole. But the thing I'm more pissed off about, him and Boston Lloyd did a collab video, which is like my mind just exploded at that point. But this asshole's talking about fucking EPO. I'm going to do some EPO. And I'm like, no pro bodybuilder I know ever in 20 years has done fucking EPO, because you're just asking to die.
Dude, if you want to just give a giant fuck you to your kidneys, go ahead, take some EPO.
I just don't get it, man. I just don't get
but
it.
As you said, I don't know anyone who's ever used it.
He's talking about EPO and what's the other one? The fat burning one that guys use? DMT.
Oh God, DMP.
DMP. That's it. I don't know anybody sane who's used DNP. Oh, I do know a couple guys, so that's not as bad, but I've never used it personally. And then stacked with EPO, and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
The best was GH15. Remember him?
Isn't he from one of the boards?
Yeah, he was from the boards.
From Get Big?
Yeah. So, dude, one year, I think it was like 2011. I was getting ready maybe for an Arnold. You know, and I was in good shape. You know, that was a good time for me.
I remember,
right?
2011. You beat me at the Flex Pro.
And that was a really good year for you.
It was my best year. I think
you were good. I think it was my best year too.
Yeah.
And like pictures surface of me at like, I don't know, 5 weeks out or something.
Yeah.
So GH15, the Lord of anabolics, puts out this whole thing. He's gonna tell everyone what I'm taking, right?
Oh, fuck, here we go.
Based on what I look like.
Yeah.
So, dude, like the list was just like a mile long. It was these doses of things that were just like it would kill a horse.
Yeah.
And it was like I was already taking diuretics at 6 weeks out. And just like all this just like crazy things. And like I remember looking at it and like laughing, but then thinking to myself, geez, this is really bad, because there's people out there that think that this guy is actually for real, that he knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
And people are going to read that and think that is normal. And that is so fucking far from normal.
Yeah, I know. That's how it works, man. That's how the diuretic thing. Dude, I saw one of Tony Huge's, or just Tony from now on. I saw one of Tony's videos.
Anthony.
Okay, this is real. Yeah, we'll just go by Anthony. Anthony put up a video, and he's like, holding a little bit of water. Just this, he's not getting ready for a show.
Okay.
He's like, I can see the striations, but they're a little bit blurred. I think I'm going to start taking some diuretics. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're telling people to take EPO, DNP, diuretics for no reason. And his videos have views. And I'm like, people are fucking watching this shit.
That's like saying I'm a little cold today. I think I'm going to light myself on fire.
Yeah. It's unfucking believable, man. So anyway, okay, a couple more and then I'll let you go, man. I don't want to keep you forever. Red meat. Lots of red meat or sparingly?
I don't know. I go through phases, you know, like I go through phases where I have it in my diet every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm having it, and I never do it more than once a day.
Yeah.
But if I do it once a day, I do feel like I'm stronger. Like I've just got a bit more power, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But then I go through periods too where I'm not having it. I'm okay. I don't know. Sometimes it beats up my stomach a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'd say, you know what? I'd say if you digest it well and you like it, I say go to town on it. So if not, if it bothers you, it's not like it's so magical you have to have it.
Yeah. I covered these last three throughout our talk. I said, how many cheats a week? We covered that. Trump or Bernie?
What was it? Trump or Bernie?
Yeah.
Trump, because.
Can I ask you a question though? Don't people respect the fact that Bernie has had the same positions for like 40 years? Do people recognize that in America?
I don't know. They should, because I mean, there's something to be said for consistency.
Yeah.
Even if someone's consistently an asshole, I'd say, well, you know what to expect. He's always a fucking jerk. You know?
So I guess they believe he's had the same principles for 40 years, but they probably think it's just he's been crazy for 40 years.
Well, Hitler didn't falter in his principles either.
Come on, you're comparing Bernie to
No,
Hitler.
no, and I'm not. I'm just saying holding the same position over a long period of time isn't intrinsically good.
No, but
it just means you're consistent.
I agree, but I feel like but the thing about this in politics, you never ever get someone that has the same genuine view for years on end.
True.
So I just give him a lot of credit in that area because I'm like, he's been fighting for workers for 40 years. There's something to be said for that, right? So
respect to the burn.
Yeah. And the last one I had was Fox or CNN, and you already answered that. So we're all.
Yeah, I mean, I watch a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I do love watching Tucker Carlson, though.
Isn't he great?
He's fucking hilarious.
Okay,
Does he remind you of Chris Aceto a little bit?
No.
No?
The way he looks? The way he looks or the way he talks?
No, the way he talks.
Yeah, I could see that maybe a little bit. I didn't think of that. I thought you meant more the way he looks. I have one more question, actually. It's something I always respected this about you because I saw you talk to. I overheard one of your conversations with an athlete backstage, and he was praising you. He said, I think he was Russian, I think. This is way back. And
where was it?
I think it was at the Flex Pro, and I've never forgotten.
So we were competing.
Yeah, and I think we were both backstage. I've never forgotten this. I think he said something like he was praising you or giving you a compliment or something like that, and he said, "Sorry for my bad English." And you said, "It's okay. If I was in Russia, I wouldn't even know what to say." So, and you kind of like put him at ease in that moment. Now I take that and I combine them with your videos. Like I've seen some of your recent animal videos where you go to Germany and you're trying the food, or you went to Dubai and you're trying the food there. It's really, really refreshing to see somebody who's so American and so proud to be American, but because sometimes I feel like these two things are mutually exclusive. I feel like sometimes people who think that they're really, really proud to be American can't be really open to other cultures.
No, and I think that's horrible. I think, listen, I love America. I love my country.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And I assume when I go other places, I assume people feel that way about their country.
Yeah.
And I think they should. I think everyone should feel that way about where they come from. Because I think it's that love that you have for your country that compels you to, if something is wrong, to try to improve it. Or, look, we should all, I think we should all love our country and love where we come from. Mm-hmm. And when I go other places, I try to find reasons to love other places. And I always do. I've never been anywhere in the world that I didn't like, ever.
Do you find, sorry to interrupt you. I find that we live in a time now where, and I feel like it's new, and I could be wrong, but I feel like it's new. I feel like if you love your country, you have to hate all the other countries.
Oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Do you find that sentiment kind of like?
I think there's a feeling of like, okay, I love my country. My country is the best.
Yeah, so that's fine.
The best. Every other country is inferior, and I don't see. But you have to keep, like, even as a bodybuilder, like, I don't look at things so competitively, right? I look at myself, and my compulsion to be better wasn't because I was trying to beat the next guy, or if I beat him, it was because I was great and he was shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's just like, I love my country. I want my country to be great.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I come to your place and I like your place too.
Yeah.
And your country's great. Like, it's not really about who's the best, or it's like when I look at a physique, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a super competitive.
I don't think it's a competitive thing. I think one, it's a maturity thing. And two, it's an egotistical thing. There's less ego. I feel like a person that can love their country and still go somewhere else and love the things about that country is somebody that's not a very egotistical person, because they're able to look at everything else and see value in it. and not have to put it down or make themselves feel better.
Or if you're smart, we'll go someplace and maybe someone is doing something in a way that's better than the way you do it, and you're able to learn from it. Or, I mean, you should be open-minded. I mean, listen, I like tradition.
Yeah.
You know, I respect tradition, but I'm always open to something new for certain. And like I said, I've always enjoyed going places because I like to see what other people are doing. I like to see how they're living. I always recognize the fact that somebody might know something I don't, or be doing something in a way that makes more sense. And anyone who's thinking the way, you know, you said, you know, okay, I love my country, so every other place is no good, it's a pretty ignorant way to think. You know, whether it's on the topic of religion or anything else, it's stupid.
I think if my hope, honestly, from this podcast, regardless of all the gear stuff and all the other stuff, I hope they take that lesson from it more than anything else. Because honestly, I learned that from you. Because when I started traveling with SciTech, going to Paris or going to Germany or going to Hungary or all these different countries I went to, that was always in the back of my head when I would go to a restaurant or something. I would try and speak English to them like as if they were supposed to know. And they wouldn't know. And then instead of getting angry, it would hit me. It's their country, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, I anytime I go someplace, I consider myself a guest somewhere else. Okay. That's not my country. All right.
Yeah.
I find it not embarrassing, but a little bit bothersome that I don't know the language.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to feel insulted, right? Okay, here I am, I'm in your country, and expecting you to accommodate me. I mean, that's not.
But that's what I mean is like, you don't expect them to know, because America is so great, you don't expect them to know English.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and that's what my point is. I feel like, and I used to do this too, so I'm guilty of it. Like, for example, I live in Ontario, and one province over is Quebec. In Quebec, they speak French. When I was younger, I went to Quebec for like a party or some shit. I remember going to the gas station and asking for something, and the guy didn't know what I was talking about, and I was upset that he didn't know English.
Right.
And I'm like, now I see everything differently, right? Like so I guess that's what I'm saying is.
And listen, if I was going to move to another country or even be there for an extended period of time, I would consider it my job to make sure I know their language, know their customs. Because, listen, I'm not from your country. It's not my country, right? Like, out of respect, I'm there, and I should be able. It would be very arrogant of me to expect you to accommodate me.
Yeah.
And I think that's normal. I think that's the way it has always been seen. I think that's the way it should be, and I feel the same way for people who come to America. If it's going to be, if I was going to take up a new residence in Italy or Switzerland or wherever it may be, it would be on me to make sure that I learn their language and their customs in a swift manner.
Yeah.
Because to expect people to continue to accommodate me, I think is extremely arrogant.
Yeah.
And it's disrespectful.
Some people might be surprised to find this out, but I actually agree with you 100%. A lot of people think that, different cultures come to America and they want to be American citizens, and they want to stay, but they should get to keep all of their own culture.
Right.
In a sense, I agree. Okay, you should be able to keep your culture at home. When your doors are closed, you're doing whatever you're doing, that's fine. But you should try to be American. Like me and my family came to Canada. My parents came from Lebanon because they were escaping war, and they came to Canada.
Right.
And all my brothers and my sister were born in Lebanon. I was born here in Canada. So it was easy for me because I was already here. But my entire family, including my parents, my father, before he passed, still didn't know how to speak English. God rest his soul. But he did it on purpose because he wanted us to speak Arabic in the house and still retain some of our culture.
Yep.
But we're fully Canadian. Like me and my brother, like me and all my siblings have married like Canadian people. We're not. I just feel like it's important that you're going to live in a country, you follow kind of their traditions.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the preservation of anyone's culture, I think, is vital, right? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
for your father to want to preserve that, I think, is natural, and I think everyone should, because look, I'm sure there's a lot of things about your culture that are worth celebrating and that add to the Canadian culture.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, there's people, I think, who will move to a country and they almost have a disdain for that country, and there's a refusal to almost like assimilate in any way. And I just don't understand, because if I was going to move someplace, I would only do so if I could say, yeah, I like their way of life.
Yeah.
I want to go there and I want to contribute to their society and be proud to be one of them. Yeah.
But I think, but just on their, and again, I'm not agreeing with not assimilating, but just on their side, one of the things you just said was, if I decided to go somewhere.
Yep.
I think a lot of these people don't have a choice. Like when my dad came here, he didn't really have a choice. Like, he's like, where can I go? Where can I go to get away from war? Where can I go to work and make money and still support my family? Mm-hmm. And his brother happened to be living in Canada already. Mm-hmm. So it was just the only place that he could figure out to go to and be safe and make a living and all these other things. So he didn't have a choice. But even without a choice, he still said, okay, we're going to be Canadian. We're going to, we're going to have our culture at home. We're going to eat our, Lebanese food, and we're going to still celebrate Lebanese holidays, but we are Canadian.
Yeah. I mean, I think, okay, even if there is no choice, say maybe you come to a country as a refugee.
Yeah.
But I think if that country being there is allowing you to escape, whether it's war or poverty, and is giving you the means by which you can support your family, be safe, etc. I mean, there should be some love there.
Yeah, of course. No. I'm not in any way saying that.
No. I'm not saying you are. No.
Yeah, I'm not saying that if there's no choice, you shouldn't assimilate. Listen, regardless of the situation, if you go to live in a country, I don't feel like you should be a burden on that country. And that's the way my father always looked at it, is don't be a fucking burden.
Right.
Live their life, live the way they live, blend in, don't cause problems.
Right.
And that was kind of our way of growing up. And I feel like what you said is true, is sometimes there is disdain. Well, we should be able to live the way we want to live, and we want to do this, and we want to put our flag on our lawn and all this. And I'm like, you kind of took it a little too far, man. You got to like meet them halfway.
And I think anybody, if you come from, anywhere, you come from Puerto Rico, you come to the United States. Yeah, man, fly your flag, but you fly it in tandem with an American flag.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, buddy. I've kept you forever, and I really, really appreciate the podcast, man. I think we got a lot of. I think people got to know you a little better, more so than. One more question before you go. What's with the John Deere tractors?
I don't know. It's just another obsession.
Okay. All right, man. We'll touch base. Hopefully I can have you on the podcast again one day.
Sounds good.
I really appreciate the time, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, brother.